Welcome to the indices, and here we're looking at the US bonds here just on the 2-hour chart. Look, the main purpose here is that if the bonds are going to be pushing up, well then the stock market will be pushing down. Finding support on 133 here. 3 is always the top of group 1, and it's important as support, and it's tried to gain it earlier in 2 places, and having another go at it now, and it may do it this time because it does appear that this little structure here is impulsive, so we should see a little move up here, a little ABC across here and support here. But look, it's just something that we can look at. You know, if it moves down below the 132.50, then we know that the bonds are weak and the stocks are strong. So it's just another way to look at things. The NASDAQ is pretty much leading the bear market down, and that's quite common for the NASDAQ to do that. It's a bit of a standard as a leader in the bear markets moving down, but as we've got here on the S&P 500, as I mentioned before, this may not be the count here, but you know, we can see that this move up through here, it was strong going through here, and then it's just been degrees of weakness and creeping at this stage. And you know, we've got that first move down, and then we've got this retest back up through here, and that seems to be failing as well. So there is weakness there, and we were drawing the line in the sand at 1850 because, well, it's the strongest number between 1800 and 1900 here. So the 1850 as support or resistance is a nice place to work with, you know, to create a bias. And as mentioned yesterday, I think that the 1850 as a retested resistance would see further downside. We can see here that it's got trendline support through here. The 1850 as it stands is you know, is supported. The wave count here, starting with what we're looking at here in this move down through here, you can see that it's in 3 waves moving down through here. So that's bullish corrective, okay? So it can move up from that point here and make new highs, but if it moves down here, then it would create the 5-wave structure to the downside here. And then if that's the case, then that's a bearish signal from that point there. So we are looking for a C wave. How far that C wave will come is always a question as well. You know, it could just sort of end here, or this particular 5 waves here could just be the wave 1 of C. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 to here as such, you know, which we are looking at in the bigger picture here. So yeah, there's a few ifs and buts about all of this, but as I mentioned before, the support on top of 1872 there would create the bias for further upside and long trades, and if that was going to occur, it would need to occur well now, otherwise we'll get a new low down through here. So that's sort of it really. I'll just have a little look in here. Yeah, see the move down so far from the top here is in a very clear 3 waves here. Because of the end of the session here, it's a little bit difficult to interpret this here as being impulse or corrective and so forth. But, you know, support on 1860, you know, would be a sign of strength, but we use the group 2 here, which would be the 65, 72 and the 80. So, you know, support back on the 1865 there would give us a bullish bias, and you'd need to be looking on the long side from that point, gleaning a small position on 65, adding on 72 if that's the case, and then adding on 1880. This pattern's the same for the Dow Jones as well, exactly the same. We've got this 3-wave structure to the downside here. You know, this move up through here, I've got an A and a B and a C here as a rally, but it can also be viewed realistically as 5 waves up here, 3 waves back, and then another 5 up here. So long as it doesn't take out these lows here, yeah, then it's actually in a bullish count here. So with that in mind, the important levels would be the 16,300, which is also the top of group 1. in terms of working with group 1, which is the 100, 200 and the 300 here, the pivot, the number 2 here, that as resistance would create a bearish bias at that at that point there as well. So it would need to do something like this. It gets stuck under there. Then you've got your reference point here, then a higher reference point here. So a breaking of that would create the confirmed resistance, but moving down and then moving back up doesn't really do it. So it needs to be sort of confirmed. But so 16.2 is something we need to look at, and 16.3 in terms of trading. So if we do see the market move up, then you want to be scaling in through 300 subgroup 1, which should be 310, 20 and 30. And if support is found on 30, well, then you can get to 50 from that point, and support on 50 would get you up into group 2. So you'd be working steps upwards on that scenario. Right, the DAX, we were looking at this. We knew that the market, the move up through here yesterday was getting overbought rather, and there'd be selling pressure there as well. And we also mentioned about working with group 1, and group 1 would be the pivot as 90,200. If that becomes the resistance, just like the Dow at the 16,200, this is 9,200 here. Number 2 is a pivot, so that as resistance there would see further downside, and the strong point for going long here would be a tested support on 9,300 here as such. And once again, the pattern that we've got down through here is actually in 3 waves. So let's just see if that develops into 5 waves, and if the 9.2 becomes the resistance there as well. But this is all normal stuff in a bullish market, moving up through here. So up into group 1 anyway. So moving up to 9.3 here, and then vibrating across group 1 with 9,200 or 2 as support is all normal stuff. So look and trade what you see, and that support on 9.3 would be the upside. Even on 9,250 you could glean the first very small position, adding on 9,272, which would be a very important number because it's 272 rather than just normal 72. But this market on the daily is still oversold at this point here, so we're still looking for weakness. And that's the same with the FTSE as well. It's got support on this medium level here, 6,565 medium level. The pattern that we were looking at here, this little pattern here, is corrective. It's in 3 waves, so we're still looking for a move lower here, and the corrective pattern would on the 1 hour would play out. We've got 5 waves down here, but we've got an A, B, C here, then for an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave in here with 5 waves in, a bit dodgy. This little move down here seems quite impulsive. It's quite quick moving down through here, so this would be a rally going back up. So we should see it fold down a bit further. So this move down here is this one here, looking at this in here being an A, B and a C, and then rolling over from that point there. Of course, you don't particularly want to short it being above the closest largest number of 65. You really need to be under it, and you need to have the reference point. So the breakout is important, but the retest is more important, and having that reference point there, putting a line across that, so when that does come through, that's the one that you want. It's less profit, but it's a safer trade. Okay, the ASX 200. So looking at I just want to start from the top up here. I know there's the other top here, which is higher, but on the cash market, this is the high. So we really need to take it from here. And this move down through here has always sort of bugged me, really, because it was really in 3 waves. So I had to call it corrective to start with until we could see more of the picture. But it could likely be this situation here where we have this as down for minute wave 1, minute wave 2 here. And then in the next smaller degree, going from wave 2 here down to wave 3 here, there'll be 5 waves, and the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 here, a little bit too high here, because it runs into wave 1 here. So that's the breaking an Elliott rule, but it is a derivative, so leverage, so it's sort of okay, but we just need to note that, and wave 5 of 3 coming down, and therefore wave 4 would move back to wave 4 of 1 lesser degree. As such, it's still a little bit small here in terms of a wave 4 of this magnitude, of this blue here, when the green wave 4 here was actually, well, it looked a bit bigger, didn't it? So so it may not be finished here. What we do have here, though, in this little corrective pattern here, and I am calling it corrective, and yesterday we were looking for, we had this in place, and I think we were right down here, and we were calling it back up into a wave C here. If support was found on 53.50, we'll then find nice tested support. Well, then of course you go along from that point there, but that's not the case. And what we're left with here so far is we've got this 3-wave pattern here, which is corrective. So it means at some point we'll make new lows here. The 61.8 retracement level that we were looking for originally was at 522 there. Now, that said, this wave 4 does appear to be a little bit small, so it could get a bit larger. So we may end up with, I'll have a look in a moment, but it does appear this move down through here is not quite finished. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here, then a little ABC here. So it could get bigger. So short traders would need the excuse me, the 5-3 as a nice retested resistance here. I'll just drill in here and have a bit of a look at this. It does appear this move down here is still in 3 waves in terms of all of this for wave 1 and 2, and all the way for 3, back for 4 here, and then down for 5. So if that's the case, and there will be a bounce off the 5-3, it's just natural, isn't it? So this would pull back here, the 38.2%, which is kind of in there, which is fine. So we'd see, some sort of, corrective pattern in here, and then we'd see wave 5 here. But because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here, then we'd see another A, B, and C here, which, so then it would need to, so there's still, it would take a little while to work lower from here. That's, I'm just pointing that out. And Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are normally the swing days, and they're swing days mainly because of news events coming out of the market. So it may take a little while for this to be the resistance here. I guess what I'm also sort of pointing out too is that if this count here that I do have in this blue wave here is correct, then that's 5 waves down from that high here. So if I can just find a bigger picture here somewhere. So if this, just on the weekly chart here, if this is the high here, all in place here, and we do have, we do get a nice clean 5 waves down here, as I just mentioned, then we'll get a 3-wave counter trend here, and then we'll get another 5 coming down through here as well. So we'll be back at the 5,000 at that point there. So anyway, let's just see how we go with this 5 waves here, if that indeed is the case, because the 61.8 retracement level we've got is from this low here to that high there, coming back here to roughly 5,220 there. So that would be a support region there. But let's just sort of see how we go. This market is still it still sort of needs to find its low. The momentum is still to the downside, but that can change over the next day on a new low. If we do get a new low, then things can get a bit more supportive at that point. So a little bit of navigation required. All right, I think that's it. So, all right, cheers.